Hi friends, my name is Abdul Ahmed, and in this particular video tutorial I will show you how to execute the SSIS package from DTEXEC, or you can say from command prompt, or sometimes we say batch file. So this is my profile. I have 8+ years of experience on Microsoft technologies, mainly in SSIS. So the agenda of today's video tutorial is how to execute SSIS package from DTEXEC, and we will also pass variable values to SSIS package from batch file, and we will also generate the package logs from batch file. So when the SSIS package will run, so either it is successful or it's failed, we will generate the logs from the batch file as well. So without wasting time, let's jump to the demo. This is my SQL Server Data Tools 2013, and I have already created a sample SSIS package that I will be executing using the batch file. So I will just show you how to execute the SSIS package from batch file. So instead of spending some time on creating the SSIS package, I already pre-created this particular SSIS package, and you can download this particular SSIS package from dataplatformlabs.com/resources, and I will share the link to download this particular SSIS package along with the batch file under the description of the video. This particular SSIS package actually just load a CSV file into a SQL Server table, and then it logs like which file it actually loaded and the number of records that it loaded from the CSV file. So if you look at this particular SSIS package, it's pretty straightforward. In the very first execute SQL task, we are just checking if test data table exists on a SQL Server database or not. So if it exists, then it drop the test data, and then it recreate the test data. So every time the SSIS package will run, test data will be dropped and recreated every time. And then it's checking if TBL logs table exists or not. So if it doesn't exist, then it create the TBL logs table. So basically TBL logs table is used to log the file path that actually got loaded, and the number of records in the file, and the time when the file was actually loaded. So in first task, we are actually preparing the tables to be used inside the SSIS package, and then inside second task, data flow task, we are actually loading data from CSV file to a SQL Server table in the test data that we created in the first step, and then we have used a row count transformation here, and then we are recording the number of records loaded into a SSIS variable record count. And in the next task, we are actually logging the details of the package, like the file that is loaded, the path of the file, and the number of records loaded for a particular file with the current date time instance into the TBL logs table. So it's pretty straightforward SSIS package, and we have created two SSIS variables here. The first variable is file path, so we can provide the full path of any CSV file whose layout is similar to this one that's used in this particular case, this one, and then it can load any CSV file that is available. So as of now, it will load the file test data_1 from this particular folder to SQL Server table. So if you look at this particular location, the first file actually contains 30 number of records, okay, and then we have another file _2 test data_2 which currently contains 20 number of records. Okay, so we will see by changing the name of the file. So first we will load the first file, and then we will load the second file as well, and the record count SSIS variable is actually populated by SSIS package itself, and we don't need to provide any value to it from external source. And then if you look at the connections, so there is a SQL Server connection, OLDB connection. So this connection is pointing to my testing database on my localhost, local SQL Server instance. And then the second connection is a flat file connection, and if you look at the fx, it means that its values are coming from the expression. So if you go to the expression, so we are actually using the SSIS variable file path to provide the value to this particular flat file connection manager. Okay, so now we are good here, and if you go back to SQL Server, so you can execute this particular query. So it will basically drop and recreate the first table, and it will create the second table if second table doesn't exist. And right now you can execute this particular query to check the number of records from the test data and the records from the TBL log. So both tables are empty as of now, and you can execute this particular SSIS package from here. So you will see that the package got completed successfully, and if you recheck the count, so you can see that the counts in the test data are 30, and you can also check the similar things under the TBL logs table. So this particular file test data _1 got loaded, and it loaded the 30 records here. Okay, so we can clean both tables. Okay, so now we will see how we can execute this particular SSIS package from a batch file. You might think that if we can execute the SSIS package from the SQL Server data tools, then why there is a need to execute the same SSIS package from the batch file? There can be some scenarios where executing the SSIS package from batch file can be required. So the first scenario can be if you are executing the SSIS package from a production server, so it might be possible that SQL Server data tools is not installed on the production server. So in that particular scenario, you can execute your SSIS package from batch file. And the second thing is, if you are executing the SSIS package from a batch file, then you will see it will run faster as compared to executing it from the SQL Server data tools. Because if you are executing the SSIS package from SQL Server data tools, then it needs to paint the window, because if some data flow tasks are running and some data is moving from source to destination, so the system needs to paint the number of records those are actually moving and the color that is changing. So these things doesn't required in the command prompt. So that's why the package running from command prompt will run faster as compared to from the SQL Server data tools. So you can test this particular scenario in your environment. Okay, so let me create a batch file and execute this particular SSIS package from the batch file. Right click on this particular SSIS package and click open containing folder, because I want to create the batch file at this particular location as well. So if you are going to hand over this particular SSIS package to someone, so you can place this particular SSIS package .dtsx file and the batch file to a third person, just 2 files, and that will be enough. Okay, so let me create the batch file here. Right click and click new. We can name the batch file as run package .batch. Now right click and edit this particular batch file, and in the first line we actually need to provide the location of the .dtexec file. So you just need to go to C drive, and then under the C drive go to program files, Microsoft SQL Server, and then the version that is installed on machine, and then the DTS bin, and then there should be a file .dtexec. So you can copy the full path of this particular file. Okay, so there's one thing at this particular location, based on your SQL Server installation there, it might possible that you have your file .dtexec file at inside the 110 folder or 100 or 90. So based on your SQL Server version, you can decide which from which .dtexec file you want to execute the SSIS package. So in my case, I'm executing this particular SSIS package from SQL Server 2014. Okay, so I have just written the full path of the .dtexec, and then now you need to type /f for file system, and then you need to provide the full path of the SSIS package. So if your SSIS package lies at the same folder, then you don't need to provide the full path, otherwise it will require a full path. So for now I'm just providing the full path of the package. So my package name is load CSV file. So you need to enclose it between the double quotes, and then you can provide a log file name as well if you want to log the package run information. So we simply provided the full path of the .dtexec file, and then we are saying that SSIS package is placed on the file system, and then we have provided the full path of the SSIS package, and then we are saying that we want to log the information of the package run under the log.txt file, which currently doesn't exist at this particular location. So we can simply save this particular batch file, and then we can double click the batch file to execute the SSIS package. So the batch file runs successfully, and if you go back to the SQL Server and then execute this particular query, so you will see that we have data inside the test data, and then test data underscore 1 file loaded successfully, and it loaded 30 records. Okay, so it's quite straightforward, executing the SSIS package from batch file. And if you open the log.txt file, so you will see that it contains information like when the package got started, and then then information, and then if it is successful, or if it got failed, and then the total number of time, how much time it actually spent on executing the SSIS package. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to pass the value of the SSIS variable file path from the batch file. So we have an SSIS variable here. We want to load the test data underscore 2 file instead of the 1 file. So what we can do is we can edit the batch file here, and then here we need to write set and then package dot variables, and then we need to type the path of name of the variable. It's file path dot value semicolon, and then we need to provide the value of the SSIS variable. So the value is this one. We want to load the second CSV file, so we can provide the location of the second CSV file. So we provided only this particular information, that we want to set the value of the file path as say files test data underscore 2.csv. So if you have more SSIS variable, then you can pass the value for more SSIS variables as well. So we are done here. Simply save this particular batch file, and if you will execute this, so now it will load the second file. So rerun the SQL query from the SQL Server Management Studio, and now you will see that this time it loaded 20 number of records, and it loaded the second file test data underscore 2, and 20 records got loaded, and this is the time when the SSIS package is actually ran. So guys, this is how we can execute the SSIS package from the batch file or from the command prompts. So it's pretty simple, and I will I will paste this particular code in the description of the video, so you can maybe try executing your SSIS packages. Thanks guys for watching the video, and if you like the video, then please click the like button and do subscribe to our channel to see more videos on SSIS and other related technologies. Thank you so much.